morning, good afternoon, good evening, North Stream, good already. This Eagle Eyes on Tech. I am Eagle Falcon. Before we begin today, I have to talk about how things are going to go down this next upcoming week for the podcasts. Next week, I am going to be at the Anime Milwaukee Convention, which I do every year. Alright, so I will have the early bird briefings pre-recorded, and Eagle Eyes on Tech will be pre-recorded, so chat will unfortunately not be able to ask questions during the recording. Alright, I will have that up for everyone to enjoy on the podcast sources, on Monday, as per normal. It'll also air as a VOD premiere on Sunday on my channel at twitch.tv/EagleFalcon, which is when it would normally air on Twitch as I'm recording it live. With that said, let's talk about how disappointing the Radeon 7 was. And this I actually want to stretch home because a lot of people are kind of looking at the brand new Radeon 7, which is finally out. People can purchase it soon, and the benchmarks are out. This is the card that was sprung on us at CES to compete with the NVIDIA live ray tracing cards, the RTX 2080, the 2080 Ti, the 2070, etc., etc., etc. First off, I hated the name Radeon 7. Because they straight up admitted that the Roman numeral is supposed to be because, well, the V means Vega, so we're reusing the Vega architecture again. But it's 2, so really it should be the Vega 2, not the Radeon 7. Like, that part already annoys me, but that tweaks me just a little bit. What really ticks me off with this particular card is that they literally loaded up a metric ton of VRAM on this card, which jacked up the price up to $700. And the benchmarks are in. The blasted thing barely keeps up with the RTX 2080 for the same blasted price. Rumors are saying that the VRAM is half the price, as Neo Gunner in the chat pointed out. So, you have the Radeon 7 here, which is a smidge slower than the RTX 2080. With more VRAM, which does literally nothing, at least for gaming, which is what the card is marketed towards. And it has none of the features that the RTX cards have. And that would be fine if the card was cheaper. I would praise this thing if this card was $500. If this card was even $600, and got as close as it did to competing with the RTX 2080, hallelujah, we have real competition, but we don't! This is like trying to sell me a grocery store club sandwich and ask me to pay the same for a toasted one from like a Subway or something, or pick your sub sandwich shop. It'd be like, well, that's nice and all, but the other one's toasted. They're both club sandwiches, they're both gonna be out the same, but that's it. On top of that, the Vega 7, the Radeon 7 consumes more power than the RTX 2080. So, even any prayer of trying to overclock the Radeon 7 and have it perform better than the RTX 2080 is kind of out the window because there's already more of a thermal threshold for the RTX 2080. It's going to benefit more from overclocking than the Radeon 7. Now, in fairness to the Radeon 7, because I am ripping on it a lot. A lot of the benchmarkers have said that the drivers for this thing were abysmal and unstable. And that really AMD should have spent additional time to perfect the drivers. But I gotta call it as I see it. And right now, by the benchmark numbers, the drivers may in fact show the Radeon 7 to be better than the RTX 2080. But isn't this just like Vega? Every single one of the Vega cards launched going, neat. And then no one could get a hold of the blasted card. And no one really wanted to either, because all the intro was just, whatevs. Now, Neo Gunner in the chat did point out the benchmarking was better if it was a benchmark that stress test the GPU memory over the compute power. The thing is that here's how I look at the benchmarking. My focus is gaming horsepower. Gaming horsepower is what's going to judge a gaming card more than anything. Because when it comes to professional use cards, those users are going to do more research than I do to see which card is the best. For content creators, for certain workloads, the Radeon 7 is going to be a godsend because it's got an absurd 16 gigs of video RAM. 16 gigs of HBM2 RAM, to be exact. Which means that it's all stacked on top of each other and basically hard plugged and soldered into the GPU die itself for maximum bandwidth. The speeds you get on that are mind-blowing. And yeah. What more can you say? From a gaming standpoint, it's a little bit better, but 16 gigs is just why? Why would you do that? So, I'm sorry, AMD fanboys, but you're just gonna have to settle with only the CPU side of AMD actually making waves. Because the Radeon 7, as far as I'm concerned, it's a non-starter. It really, really is. There's just nowhere to go here. The only accomplishment the Radeon 7 has going for it is the fact that its name has pissed me off, and the fact that it's built on 7 nanometer. And that's literally it. Now, if they stuck a CPU on it and stuff it into a game console, now we're talking. Maybe we're going somewhere then. Just if you do that, AMD, it better be, Ryzen cores. No more Jaguar cores inside our bleeping consoles. The other thing that's kind of troubling is there are rumors. I want to stress this part of the story is rumors. But there are rumors that partners are not going to be able to make custom coolers or custom design cards for the Radeon 7. Which means there, theoretically, if these rumors are true, to be no factory overclocked versions of this, no power delivery systems that are modified for better overclocking, no anything. Just the stock options with the stock cooler with the stock design. That also means no MSI over-the-top graphic card that has an OLED screen on it that has a dragon fighting ninjas and then dabbing afterwards. None of that. If this rumor is true, I want to stress that if this rumor is true, is going to be available for the Radeon 7. Why? Why are you doing this, AMD? And then, to make matters even worse, reports and rumors, which again I want to stress this, are saying that there is no Radeon Navi cards, which is the next generation of Radeon cards to come after Vega, until October of 2019. I'll be blunt. I am terribly sorry to any PC builders who are looking to build a PC for 2019. Because unless you find an old GTX 10 series card, or are willing to settle for an RTX 1060, because that seems to be the only reasonably priced GPU on the new GPU market, I think it might just be SOL. The Radeon 7 was supposed to be the card to at least pressure NVIDIA to lower the price of these absurdly high-cost cards. And it's just not happening. It feels so bad, man. Neogar in the chat sarcastically says, hey, you could always get one of those retired 1060 mining cards with no outputs and hex edit the drivers. If I could ever get a hold of one of those cards, I'm actually kind of curious if one of those 1060 mining cards would make for a good streaming encoding card. Just have that do all the heavy lifting and take stress off the CPUs. I don't know if the drivers could do that. According to NeoGunner, currently no. Feels bad. NVEC does not work on them. Literally useless. Literally bloody useless. But yeah, the 1060 is, or the 2060, the RTX 2060, from what I see on the benchmarks, is fine for 1080p gaming. Which, honestly, I'm right now in the market for taking another workstation and retrofitting it to a dedicated gaming computer. The 1060 is a very attractive option for it, just because it can take two 6-pins with an adapter, no problem, which is what most used workstations have. They only have two 6-pins coming off the power supply, and that can do 1080p gaming with high frame rates. It's if you want to go higher than that into 1440 or even 4K that it starts to really tank, especially if you turn on ray tracing. Let's be honest, I can live without ray tracing. Just a little bit. Alright, let's shift gears. Let's talk about Huawei. And how Huawei may have in fact gotten themselves in trouble with literally everything. Back to the whole 1060 thing. The hack drivers for the mining at 1060s, people have found out that you can force SLI to regular 1060s. I did hear about that. Specifically, that was from Linus Tech Tips. His little hacking crew over there found this all out, and that was rather interesting. And yeah, it does not surprise me at all that NVIDIA is just like, well, we're just gonna say, you know what? No SLI connector for these 1060s. Lol, bye. And hey, look at that. You could do it anyway. What are the odds? Alright, anyway, back to Huawei. So, how would you like a story? Back at CES, Huawei was looking to get a sample of what was called... Oh, what was it? I believe it was called Mirage Diamond Glass. Here it is. It was from a US startup called Akan. I'm not going to lie, when you're talking about two companies, one called Akan and the other called Huawei, and you have to try and guess which one's the foreign company, good luck. You probably guessed wrong the first time. So, Akan went and gave Huawei samples of their Mirage Diamond Glass so that Huawei could use it in their phones. Huawei then pretty much kept the sample and started to test it to see how it was made. And they kept it for, I want to say, 4 months after they were supposed to give it back. And when they gave it back to them badly damaged and in pieces. Which then prompted the FBI to get a warrant to do a search raid on Huawei, as Huawei was suspected to have violated the terms of inspecting the sample, because the sample was never supposed to leave the US, and it was believed after a sting operation was performed with the CEO of Akan wearing a wire at CES when talking to Huawei about the sample, that they believed the sample was taken to China. As of right now, no charges have been filed against Huawei, most likely because they don't have enough proof to bring charges. But, I mean, they have to have a decent amount of proof to get the warrant for the search raid. If it weren't for the fact that so many sources reported this, I would have thought that Engadget went and snagged some sort of movie script and ran with it like it was a real story. But no, check out, this is actually a thing. This is actually not a Hollywood movie. Oh. I mean, Huawei's been suspected of a lot of shady business in the past. There's no question about that. There's been a lot of suspicion that Huawei's been installing spyware on their phones that they sell in the US just to let the Chinese government have those, well, access to that same spyware on all those phones. I mean, the more and more you hear about Huawei trying to, claim they're being legit and everything, and then you get stuff like this that you're just like, now hold on a minute. Hold on! I mean, I've never had a Huawei phone. And probably the funnier thing to me is that there was a Google Nexus phone that was built by Huawei. Did Huawei just seem like that nice a guy at the time, or... I mean, there might be a reason why there hasn't been a... Google hasn't made a partnered phone with them since. Now, I do have the statement here from Akan about what they had to say about this. Of which I am stalling for time while I am looking to find the exact quotes. From them. Oh, it's the entire thing. Alright, so this is from the Business Wire from Chicago. Akan Semiconductor recently cooperated with the U.S. federal investigation into what appears to be a theft of its intellectual property by Huawei Technologies Incorporated Ltd. when Akan agreed to send its proprietary Mirage Diamond technology, blah, blah, blah. Oh, here it is. Akan takes seriously any unlawful use of its technology. The theft of any Akan assets, attempted or successful, will not be tolerated. Akan will continue to cooperate with law enforcement and work towards an expedited resolution to this matter. Given the threat that Huawei's apparent theft possesses to Akan shareholders, employees, and customers, the potential loss to U.S. jobs, revenue, and other projected economic impact, Akan is considering any and all available legal remedies and will work with involved parties to make public the relevant information to all stakeholders to the extent it can do so. Akan is committed to acting with integrity and conducting its business to a safe, ethical, and legal manner. As far as I'm aware, there has been no official reply from Huawei aside from, "Nah, I didn't do it, fam. Totally not. Not us. Nope." Although in a related story, Huawei said it would accept EU supervision over how it builds phones and what it installs in said phones. Trying to say that, oh yeah, no, we here at Huawei are totally legit and would never install spyware or steal technology to reverse engineer it and incorporate it into our phones. Yeah. I have a question. Raise your hands, everyone. Who trusts Huawei? Anyone? Anyone? Normally when it comes to Android phones, I've had the stance of just leaving them as is. I've always been against rooting them. I've been against any sort of reformatting, any sort of hard resets to try and get a better experience. I'm not gonna lie, Huawei is changing my opinion on that. I mean, it might be this tinfoil hat that I feel like wearing now all of a sudden thanks to Huawei, but, rooting all Huawei phones, if you buy one, doesn't sound like the worst idea in the world. Huh. Just a hard purge all of whatever might be on there out of there. Or, just don't. But then again, with what's going on the iPhone side of things, kind of makes you wonder, maybe rooting your Android phone's a good idea regardless of the manufacturer, because over on iPhone, we have quite a few applications just recording your screen without asking. From TechCrunch, multiple apps are using the screen recording function to record and collect data from your phone, including recording your screen and activities, in order to sell that data. From hoteliers, travel sites, airlines, cell phone carriers, bank, and financiers that don't ask or make it clear that they're doing such things. Apps such as Abercrombie and Finch, Hotels.com, Singapore Airlines, and also Glassbox all do this. Oh, and by the way, Facebook was also caught doing this. And I want to be clear, I give Apple a lot of flack. I'll be honest. I do give them a lot of flack. And to a degree, they do deserve a good chunk of it. Mostly because the flack I give them is based on their hardware that they have been severely lacking on. Their response to this is flawless. Apple has made it clear. Any apps that are doing this have 24 hours to either not or make it clear that they will do this. Otherwise, they will be pulled from the App Store, period. Good! That's exactly what it should be. Because, let's be honest, that's not cool. I don't care who you are, that is not cool. You don't do that. I mean, would you want to? Would you want, Singapore Airlines to know what credit card information you gave to Amazon? Or say if an app watched me fill out my taxes on my phone? No. Get out of here with that nonsense. Alright, so I've given Apple some credit. It's time to give Apple some flack. Apple has made it clear that they are supporting AT&T's 5GE network labeling. 5GE, or 5G Evolution, I think that's what it is. Is it Evolution or is it Evolved? It doesn't matter. It might as well just be called, it's 5G, it's 5G Evolution Network. It doesn't matter. It is a blatant lie. "5G emulated" is what Neo Gunner in the chat says. It might as well just say 5G. Not even emulate. Like, what? Because it's not. Even on its performance number, it's nowhere close to the theoretical average of what 5G should be able to get. It's not even. It doesn't use any part of the new 5G standard. 5GE, if you don't know, this was the new network standard that AT&T tried to showcase at CES, and literally 100% of everyone there at CES pointed and laughed at AT&T because their 5G network gave the same results as their 4G network, and in fact, when pushed about it, revealed that yes, we admit it, it's just LTE, a 4G standard technology. I kid you not. They have already rolled out commercials about this. I was actually with my mother this past Friday, and an AT&T commercial first started talking about how they have the most reliable fiber network and are number one in customer satisfaction and all this jazz. And then immediately after that followed up with, by the way, we're rolling out 5GE. So now you too can have a 5G network. I went on a 5-minute rant right there about how BS this was. Again, 5GE is LTE. LTE is 4G. Sprint is working on 5G. Verizon. I don't think they have 5G out yet, but they're working on it. This is blatant fraud. And Apple is letting it go out there. This is even more blatant than the 3G plus 4G fiasco that AT&T tried to pull as everyone switched to LTE. This is more blatant than that. So, a bit of a wag of the finger at Apple for just, letting that happen. But a much, much bigger wag of the finger at AT&T for this nonsense. And before you ask, yes, Sprint is planning on suing AT&T for this blatant lie. But you know what AT&T's defense was? Well, everyone in the public knows that 5G evolution is in fact just 4G. That's your defense, huh? Your defense is literally admitting that you're lying and trying to claim that everyone else knows about it. Wow. Just wow. This annoys me more than anything. The blatant, underlined, blatant lying. And here I am, thinking about switching to AT&T for that fiber line. I don't know. I got a feeling I'm just gonna get a DSL modem here. It's making me wonder. Alright, let's shift gears. So, fortunately, the most recent iOS bug with group FaceTime has been patched. The boy who found out about it is, in fact, getting a bounty reward from Apple for finding the bug. Which, hey, that's all great. However, a researcher has found that this same program doesn't apply to macOS. I mean, I'm just in the chat saying I've worked for AT&T. They've lied for years about fiber with Uverse. And see, that's kind of one thing that kind of bothered me with their push here in southeastern Wisconsin for fiber, is that their speeds top out at 100. Then it was like 100 down and like 10 up for fiber. And that always struck me as odd, because, like, why? Unjust says that it's 1 gigabit if you pay. I didn't see the option, though. I actually did, like, no joke, I did go to AT&T and ask them about this. And I was looking for, you know, at least a gigabit. 1 gig down, and I was hoping for a gig up. I would settle for 100 gig. I would settle for 100 megs up. But, you know, being a streamer, upload speed is incredibly important. Some addresses are limited. It may really only be... They claimed it was their fiber program. But I'm now wondering if that's the fiber DSL nonsense. Alright, regardless. The researcher has discovered this. The researcher Linus Henze discovered that this bounty program for Apple does not include macOS at all. Wow, gee, thanks. That's super duper. So, once again, we get an example here of just Apple literally not caring at all about the macOS side of things. It is literally just all about iOS. And if the hardware wasn't evidence enough, first they're just like, oh, well, I guess our MacBook Pros just overheat, deal with it. We'll just let it run up to 99C and just, that'll be it. Have fun, kids. We're just not going to do anything about those faulty VRMs. Oh, the screen fails? Oh, well, we're just going to observe from a distance. Oh, you mean our new MacBook Air? Is just a slightly bigger MacBook, but we're pricing it the same, and it still runs a 5-watt CPU? Oh, whatever. Why? Just don't. I mean, Apple, if you're not going to care about macOS, if you're not going to care about the Mac as a whole, if you're not going to care about creating a professional desktop, if you want to just keep making iPhones, big, small, tablets, whatever, then just do it. Just stop creating this illusion that you care about the Mac, because more and more, it's clear you don't. And don't, before anyone starts going, oh, you're just bashing on Apple because you've been bashing on them for the last couple of years. I refurbished Macs. I have always been the guy. Whenever I see any sort of problem, I always try to get both sides of the story. I've owned a MacBook Pro. I know plenty of people that are happy with their MacBook Pros. A good butt of mine right now has a, 2011 MacBook Pro? I even tell him, that's the year where they actually cared about the Mac. After that, after they went ahead and frickin' took away every single port on there and replaced it all with USB Type-C, that's it. It was all gone right after that. All right, let's stop bashing on Apple for now. Actually, forever, because I don't think we actually have any more Apple stories today. I want to shift gears to actually a weird rumor. We're only a couple weeks away from CES. I am trying my hardest to ignore as many of the little ticky-tack little, ooh, did you hear that there might be 3 Samsung S10s? Huawei might come out with a new phone that folds. Squeak! Motorola's coming out with this. Oh, LG might be coming out with that. Oh my, whoa, it's gonna be amazing! Calm yourselves! Mobile World Congress is in a couple of weeks. Keep your pants on until then, for crying out loud. You'll find out if they're real or not by then. In the meantime, you can go and report something else. Lord knows, I can find other things to report on it. And I have a crew of 1. That being said, this rumor of Energizer trying to make phones and possibly introducing 26 new phone models to Mobile World Congress with all-screen displays and pop-up cameras, along with a mind-blowing 18,000 milliamp battery. It kind of just makes you quickly rip off whatever glass you're going and go, what? Excuse what? Now, all those features aren't going to be in the same phone. In fact, all of these are rumors right now, so I hate trying to go, oh, well, this phone's going to have this, that phone's going to have that. But the majority of the phones are supposed to have all front screen displays. That means no bezels, actual edge-to-edge screens. They're all supposed to be running Android. There's supposed to be a mechanical pop-up front-facing camera to get around the no-notch display that they've got going on, which, by the way, thank you. I did not need yet another notch at Mobile World Congress. Alleluia. No notch. But the 18,000 milliamp battery, I want to know if that's real. To put in perspective, I am holding in my hand my iPhone that I have a very awkward love-hate relationship with, and it might, in fact, I think what this phone does to me might qualify as domestic abuse. It's kind of weird. I need help. But regardless, this phone has a 2500 milliamp battery-ish. Give or take a couple hundred. But that's about where the battery in this guy is. 2500 milliamps. The Note 9, which is considered by almost everyone to be the ultimate phone on the Android side of things. The best productivity phone, one of the best gaming phones, one of the best power user phones, one of the best phones for battery life. It's pretty much a jack of all trades, but it goes a step beyond that by just being good at everything, not being acceptable at everything. That phone has a 4,000 milliamp battery. The Energizer phone Their Power Max one is rumored to have an 18,000 milliamp battery. Wow. Just wow. What do you even say to that? That would be enough phone juice to last just about any power user all day and possibly even the next day. But again, that's all rumors, and we'll get confirmations in a couple of weeks, whether they're going to be announced at an event in a couple of weeks or not. Let's talk about how Microsoft, though, is having a bit of an identity crisis. Microsoft has put out an advertisement trying to get people to purchase its Office 365, which is a subscription-based Microsoft Office, over buying its Office 2019. Yes, Microsoft released an ad bashing its own product and saying how inferior it is to its Office 365 variant. Look. Why are we doing this? Why are we pushing productivity software to be a subscription? This might actually be the thing that annoys me the most about PCs right now. Is this push, this hard push for software as a service. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it makes sense. For example, an MMORPG, if you want it to be a good game and not have it be ruined by pay-to-win and toxicity and whatnot, a subscription model makes sense. It keeps you from just putting out flashy, obnoxious things and turn it into a giant freak show. But first, Adobe did this. And by the way, that also ticked me off. And I am on the record saying this was the dumbest thing ever, and I hope Adobe's attempt with this fails. Even though I know it won't, because too many people rely on Adobe and will be forced to do it because Adobe has a virtual monopoly on creative software. Because they are an industry standard. Microsoft doesn't quite have a monopoly on Office software, but it's almost as bad as Adobe's Creative Suite is. But here's the thing. I am not going to pay Adobe per month to occasionally fire up After Effects to edit a small video. In fact, actually, when I had to use After Effects and quickly learn minor things about After Effects to edit my Stinger video that I use for transitions on Twitch, I literally just used the 7-day trial. Just did it all within the 7-day trial and then uninstalled it. Because I refuse to give them money to do that. It's just no. It's not, this is not okay. For the same thing for Microsoft. No. Stop it. Just no. On top of that, not only do I hate the payment model, but I want you to think for a minute. How many of you work in an office environment where you use the most recent version of Microsoft Office? None of you. Unjust Man does. Okay. All right. Well, I stand corrected in that regard. But the point I was going to make is most places don't want to use the most up-to-date version. Because what ends up happening is that when they introduce a new feature, it bricks older features that their system relies on. That's just no. And this is now starting to go back down the road towards Windows 10 forcing updates on their professional version as well. People in the chat are pointing out that they use OpenOffice at home. I'll admit, I use OpenOffice as well. In fact, the presentation I'm going to be giving at Anime Milwaukee also uses OpenOffice. I'll say this again. I hope Office 365 fails. I do. I really, really do. Because paying per month to use software like this, it is a model that is blatantly infuriating. All right, let's get to the last couple of stories here. First off, Microsoft wants to bring Xbox Live cross-platform gaming to Android, iOS, Nintendo Switch, and more. Unjust Man in the chat's pointed out that Office 365 has had outages in the past. Wow. Do they include that in the commercial where Microsoft blasts its own product? That, oh, by the way, the product we want you to buy just randomly cannot work? Wonderful. So yeah, Microsoft is pushing harder to have cross-platform gaming. Good. I think this is a long time coming. I think it is absolutely stupid that the option of platform gaming isn't a thing. Now, that being said, if, say, Overwatch wants to say, hey, you know what, we want Xbox people to play with more Xbox people, Sony to play with more, or PlayStation people to only play with PlayStation people, and PC people only play with PC people because of the competitive advantage that PC has over the other two platforms, I'd understand that. But there shouldn't be a limitation on the platforms themselves. So Sony said they were pushing for it. Microsoft now pushing forward to it. Who knows? Maybe in a couple of years. Maybe even next year. Maybe even later this year. I can sit down on my gaming computer, boot up Minecraft, and other viewers can boot up Minecraft on their Switch and phones, and then we can all join together on one Minecraft server and wonder, what on earth are we doing? Oh, Unjust meant that Sony wasn't included in this. I'm not sure about that, because we've heard in the past that Sony wanted to put their own platform out there for others to cross-platform as well with Xbox. So there's already a connection going on there. But we'll see down the road. Windows 10, their latest build lets you put 3D apps lets you put desktop apps in a 3D world. So you too can fire up Microsoft Office 365 into an augmented reality world and work on your spreadsheets with HoloLens. Why? Why would you want to do that? I'll just say this right now. If you want to go and do this, if you want to go put on your HoloLens and cover your room in spreadsheets and Word documents for fun, hey man, you go do you. If you start doing it to actually be immersed in your work, I might have to go ahead, fly to your place, and take your HoloLens and tell you to take a vacation. You need one. If you put on your HoloLens to make yourself that immersed in your Word document for actual legitimate work, you need a vacation. I feel confident in officially declaring that. But otherwise, that could be cute for other reasons. Alright. Let's move on to the last burb. The last story of the day and the weirdest story of the day. Samsung has launched an app they are calling, and I'm not kidding when I say this, Refrigerdating. So that you can go and I try my best not to laugh, but this is so silly. So you can find a date based on what's in your fridge. And it'll matchmake you with other people that have a Samsung fridge with the same dating app on it. What? Now, maybe CNET has put this article out there just to mess with people, but now I have questions. Unjust Banana in the chat has the same questions too. If I game the system, what will happen? If I just load up vodka in the fridge, is it going to hook me up with a good time? Maybe that's what people are going to do. They're just going to put a bottle of rum in the fridge next to like a cheesecake. And then just say, all right, fridge, who's my date tonight? This seems so silly. I will give credit to Samsung for one thing. I never, ever in a million years saw this coming. That's going to do it for me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Be sure to check out our weekly or daily podcast, the Early Burb Briefing, which you can find on iHeartRadio, iTunes, and wherever else you found this podcast. And also make sure to check out my Twitch page, twitch.tv/EagleFalcon. Take care. We'll hear me next week. But here's the real question. Where's the camera on the fridge to go put yourself on Refrigerdating? And how long will it take for degenerates to figure out ways to take pictures of their genitals with this camera? You know someone's going to figure this out.